There's a whole discussion regarding the Mun, the food that sustained the Jews for 40 years in the Midbar. The Mun, the Mayim from Miriam, Nani HaKavod. So there's a whole discussion, and the many halachas we went out from the Mun, and we do regarding Shabbos in terms of covering the challah, perhaps having the different sudas. But one of the discussions regarding the Mun is what bracha did they make on the Mun. So some achronim discuss whether it would be appropriate to make the bracha hamoti lecha min haaretz regarding the Mun. In fact, the Sefer Hasidim writes that the bracha was hamoti lechem min hashamayim. And that's what the Ramapana writes, that in the time of Mashiach, we will once again make this bracha hamoti lechem min hashamayim, and they'll serve it at the Sudas of Yosem. And as well, the Chai Adam, in a discussion, he talks about parenthetically about those types of plants that don't grow in the ground. They put them in the pots, the different things you grow in the pots on the ground. He questions whether you can make hamotzi lechem min haaretz on such wheat because it didn't actually touch the ground. However, others point out that they think it is appropriate to make hamotzi lechem min haaretz on the Mun, because there's a Sephorna which writes that one who gathers Mannah on the Shabbos violates the prohibition of harvesting. So we know the halacha of harvesting only applies if you attach something which is mechuber l'karka, which is connected to the ground. So it would seem from the Sephorna then that even though the Mannah came down from heaven, but since it's completed its growth on the ground, we go basar sof, we go by the end, and therefore hamotzi lechem min haaretz would be the appropriate bracha. That's the whole discussion regarding what bracha you make on the Mannah. So in fact, another interesting dispute which is really relevant to this question as well is when we say that the Mun, we have a Chazal tell us that the Mun had the ability to taste like anything you wanted it to taste like. So there's a discussion, the Gemara in Yuma, Daf Ayin Hey, on whether it just tasted, the Mun could taste like anything you wanted, or Tamo Uma Masho. Not only could taste, but could taste and it turns into it as well. So some want to point out, based on some psukim and Bahaloscha, that the Mun couldn't turn into everything, because we know by the Masonim, when they were complaining, it said, Zachar, we remember we miss our fish, our onions, our garlic. They list a couple of things, what they missed in Mitzrayim. If the Mun tasted like everything, so what did they miss it for? Oh, but then some want to point out, Rashi, based on Chazal, that since the nursing and pregnant women, these things hurt them, it wouldn't be comfortable for them, so therefore, apparently, according to the Shita, the Mun couldn't turn into that. In fact, the Torah Tamima raises the issue there are even more things that Gemara in Ksubas tells us that pregnant women nursing, so don't eat. So he said, it's not just limited to this list, but all the foods. So anyway, that's a discussion whether the Mun could turn everything or some foods were excluded from the Mun. But either way, assuming the foods that are included in the Mun, so does it taste like the Mun, or does it get the texture? My nafkamina, what's the difference? And nafkamina is, could I think ribs and wings, and then for dessert think cheesecake? In other words, if I ate steak, did I become meat? Or it just tasted like steak? It tasted like sushi, whatever you want it to taste like. Or do I say no, it's tamu mamasha, so that'd be the nafkamina in terms of one could actually think they're eating a cheeseburger or not. Basa b'cholov, treif, all these things. So many say yes, it's just like the taste. That didn't actually become it, therefore you can think anything you want. In fact, the Gemara tells us that God made every prohibited pleasure, God gave us a permitted pleasure. He gave you like something that kosher that tastes like treif. So either way, so in theory, so if we could find something that isn't treif, that tastes like treif, so maybe, that'd be okay as well. So either way, that's what many say, it only tasted like the man, but not tamu mamasho. However, Rabbi Yosef Engo has a famous shayla. We know the Gemara tells us in brachas about the different brachas who instituted Moshe, Zana Sakol because of the man, Yoshua because of Enter Eretz Yisrael, David and Shlomo, Boneh Barach Moshe Amen, and Arugi Beitar. So the halacha is, in order to bench, you have to have something from Chamishe Mine Dagon. You have to have grain from the 5 grains. And therefore, the shayla is, Rabbi Yosef Engo asks, how could it be then, if it only tasted like the man, then how could you bench on it? If it actually became the Chamisha Mine Dagon, so then we could discuss, then you could bench. But if you assuming according to a sheet that is telling the taste, how could you bench? And also the Chazon Ish writes, it's a problem with Kedei Sevilla, because they got full right away and that was it. So how do you explain them eating the man, then benching on it? So there's a famous Rav Chaim, they say over, which people claim never happened, but about how could the Hanukkah miracle, how could it be? So they used them, it was the miracle happened, so Shem and Shonei. So they call Rav Chaim as saying that you can, that it's not Shem and Zayis, it's Shem and Zayis, and therefore, how could you use it in Beis HaMikdash? So people claim all the salvation, Rav Chaim never said it. Rav Chaim Shita was that once he made it, once the nace happened, it turned into shemen, so that it didn't have shemen zayis as well. So once God turned it into bread, so therefore it also turned into the chamishe mine dagan. And that fits, well with the taima umamasho. And that's how you could say that he could bench. Also, they ask Akshai, what about the Sefer Yetzirah? We see that Gemara tells us, I think there's a Chacham Tzvi on it, that talks about someone who kills a Goam, kills someone in the Sefer Yetzirah, he's not a Rotzeach. Mashma that you do the nates happens, but it still remains a nates. It doesn't become the person. So perhaps the distinction is that one is from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so HaKadosh Baruch Hu could do everything. He could turn the man into the Chamisha Mine Dagan, or the Shemin into Shemin Zayis. However, man, you can't do everything, so you have the ability to turn it into, but it wasn't really considered a full-fledged person. Those are some of the interesting issues that regarding the one or bracha you make, and in terms of whether you could think of it as treif or basar v'chalav, etc.